A cry for help. Homeless man dances on car and smashes windshield, then spends a night in jail. And then, kind of on the polar opposite of that, we've got Daniel Penny acquitted in subway chokehold death of Jordan Neely, sparking applause and uproar in New York City courtroom. Going to be talking about that, but we're mainly going to focus on, this homeless dude, because it's the same thing. You got homeless people running around just doing crazy nonsense willy-nilly. You got concerned citizens stepping in like Daniel Penny. Should they be prosecuted? Should they be found guilty for helping out society? Let's get into it. Here we go. Check this video out. This is nutty.
It is one of several incidents in the LA area just this year. Homeless people, some apparently suffering from addiction or mental illness, who've gone on to vandalize property or assault, or in some cases, kill. Good evening, everyone. I'm Colleen Williams.
And I'm Annabelle Sedano. Investigative reporter Joel Grover has been covering the homelessness crisis for 7 years. And Joel, I think at this point, everybody wants to know what's being done to help these people.
Well, the short answer, not nearly enough is being done, even though the city, the county, and the state are throwing billions, yes, billions of dollars at reducing homelessness.
Oh my God.
At the world-famous corner of Hollywood and Highland.
What are we doing there? I mean, he's just on the woman in this car just must be like, what? What are we doing? Yeah, he's humping the front of the car, as you do at an intersection in LA, right?
A homeless man jumps on the hood of a car.
This guy.
A passerby tries to pull him off and chases him away, but the man runs right back.
Oh, no, not again.
Oh.
And now jumps on the roof of the car.
My heart is racing.
He dances.
Look at this guy.
His chest. What did you do when you saw this?
Didn't know what to do. I was just in shock. Started filming right away.
This woman was driving by and shot the video. Her name is Madeline, and she's a therapist who's worked with the homeless.
It was obviously a cry for help. It felt like he was at the end of his rope.
LA has seen many other incidents of the homeless crying out for help. Like this man who dangled for hours on telephone wires, refusing to come down.
She was swinging from here to there.
Terrifying residents like Amy Castillo.
The guy was clearly not well.
Or the homeless man who brutally beat Mary Klein and killed another woman on a Venice street.
My whole face was smashed in.
As for the homeless man who danced on the roof of that car, he ended up smashing the windshield and denting the hood before the cops showed up and rushed the terrified driver to safety.
My heart went out to that woman in the car. I felt for both of them.
The homeless man, 30-year-old Adam Noel, already had a long rap sheet on.
There you go. I mean, the guy's a convicted felon, right? I mean, is it because he's crazy? Is it because he loves to break the law? Is it because he's on drugs? Probably a combination, right? You got a combination.
This day, he was arrested again, charged with felony vandalism, and let out of jail the very next day.
We don't know where he is now.
Carrie Morrison founded Heart Forward LA, a nonprofit looking for better ways to treat the homeless who are suffering from mental illness.
My ideal scenario would be that there would be a crisis team who would immediately be mobilized to connect with him directly.
And then get him the services he needs?
Yeah, and stick with him.
But that rarely happens, even though there are numerous agencies and nonprofits spending hundreds of millions of dollars a year on homelessness. Is there enough money to help people like this?
I feel there is enough money. The money is siloed in so many different departments.
A City of LA analysis recently found that $513 million earmarked for homeless programs was never even spent. Do you think soon there will be enough services to help these most vulnerable people on the street? LA Mayor Karen Bass.
I can't imagine there would be enough, but what I do hope is that there will be more.
Homeless advocates, including the therapist who shot this video, have a message for the mayor and for other politicians.
Other cities have figured this out. We are a city full of brilliant, creative people. I think we can really put a dent in this issue too.
That right there is one of those hinge type comments, right? It's like, yeah, you got a bunch of smart people. You got creative people. You're making movies. You got businesses leaving California in droves, and partly because of nonsense like this. But it's not like Hollywood. It's not like California is just all alone. You got the same nonsense in Seattle. You got the same nonsense in Portland. Any big urban city, where they've just allowed homelessness to just explode. It'll be fine. This misguided compassion where just let them do what they want. I mean, when they're ready for treatment, we'll help them out. We'll be there. We'll be there to support them. Meanwhile, you got guys like this hopping on somebody's car, smashing in the windshield. Let's finish out the video.
We checked, and the man seen jumping on that car does not appear to be in custody anywhere in Southern California. And sources we checked with do not know his whereabouts.
That's comforting. He is ready to strike. He is ready to strike and just do his own thing, right? If you're enjoying this content, make sure you check out our private channel. That is reasonabletv.com. That's where you got storylines and videos of content that isn't quite so family friendly. Maybe not suitable for work, like this one here. This is the Veterans Administration. This is your government taxpayer dollar at work. VA scandal. Orgies exposed. 32 partners. Shocking details. Sex-crazed workers at troubled VA facility had 12-person orgy. They got all kinds of stuff going on at work. Want to check that one out? What's it going to cost? All right. You got $3.99 a month. You can join for 14 days for free. And then you get a little bit of a discount if you go yearly, $39.99. It's content you literally won't find anywhere else. Thanks in advance. You've got a situation there where California has spent how much on homelessness? I mean, it's just absolutely 24 billion, and they don't really know where it went. There's so many organizations out there with a handout and such little accountability, and it all goes towards housing. So much of this does not go towards treatment. And you know what? If you've got people that are mentally insane, like the dude jumping on the car, I mean, it's something's, if that guy is not on some kind of crazy drugs, then he deserves to be in jail. I mean, that's where he should be, straight to jail. But we're not doing that, right? We're not doing the straight to jail thing. We're not involuntarily committing people into treatment. And so you're going to just put them in housing. We've seen how that works. Not well. It's harm reduction at its finest, right? Well, if we just let them do their thing, they'll eventually come back around to it. And it's, housing first, same thing. Well, if we just give them housing, everything's, give them that platform to move forward on. But unfortunately, so many of these people have this criminal background and are addicted to drugs and have the mental issues. Just like, you got Daniel Penny acquitted in the subway chokehold death of Jordan Neely. Guys on the New York subway, and he's threatening passengers, just like our dude right there was hopping up and down on the car, right? You think that wasn't absolutely terrifying, that woman driving that vehicle? Imagine if that was your car got hopped onto. The guy's humping the front grill, take that, you Chrysler. Whatever it was. I don't know what that car was. Maybe, I don't know. You know what I mean? It doesn't really matter, does it? Because some crazy homeless guy on drugs is humping the front end of a car. Like, oh, okay. All right. But that's standard. That is standard stuff for Seattle. It just is. So until these big liberal cities get into the mindset of we need to take these people off the streets one way or the other. And you got three options. Number one, you got prison. And a lot of these folks are mentally ill. They do not belong in prison. But if that's your only option, you gotta protect folks like Jordan Neely did. Put the dude into a headlock. Unfortunately, choked him out. Right? But the homeless guy was, absolutely threatening other people, like the guy hopping on the car. He's actually causing damage. And if you're not terrified that a homeless dude is jumping on your car, it's just another day in Los Angeles. I mean, the light will turn and I'll go. And, the guy up on the roof, he'll get down and go on his way. No, terrifying, absolutely terrifying. How do you think the rest of her day went? Hey, you'll never guess what happened. And I was in the middle of a video that went viral. This guy just running around. So you got prison, you got a mental institution, or you got treatment. And this guy probably needs a combo because it sounds like he's experienced all three. So, if you need to start throwing people in jail, then that's what you got to start doing. But in a Los Angeles, in a Seattle, in a Portland, in a San Francisco, you can just tell by, the comments in that video, they were is there enough money? Well, how many billion do we have to spend to figure out, hey, money going up, money being spent going up and homelessness should be going down, but it's not. Homelessness keeps exploding. It keeps going because the more money you hand out, the more people there will come. Build it and they will come. Field of dreams, right? And it's absolutely true. People know, hey, go to Seattle. People know, hey, go to Portland. People know, hey, go to San Francisco. World's your oyster. You can do whatever the F you want there. And people will stand around while you hop on their cars and they'll go, oh, good Lord, if we just had a supervisor a case supervisor for all these people, you got to do something more drastic than what we're doing. And that's where this notion of we're a really smart town, there's options out there that we could probably take it. You gotta bring some hard line into it one way or the other. Prison, mental ward, treatment. And if people can't figure out, how to get themselves healthy, then they need to be taken off the streets because this isn't healthy for citizens. The citizens in the Jordan Neely subway and the person on, that had their car just absolutely, let's do some jumping exercises on the hood of the car, or on the top of the car, roof of the car, and then let's just smash in the windshield. What if that guy would have gone through that windshield right into that woman, maybe like onto that woman's lap with his feet straight through the windshield? I mean, at what point in time do you call out BS and say, hey, you got nut jobs running around. You need to incarcerate them. You got to get them off the street. At what point in time do you do that? How many innocent people need to get killed before we go down that road? Right? Right now we've got, you got activists. Oh, Jordan Neely, he went free. He went free because his bottom line was he was trying to save the passengers on the subway car that this guy had threatened. Former Marine, right? Let's read this one. Manhattan jury has cleared Daniel Penny of criminal wrongdoing in the chokehold death of Jordan Neely on a crowded subway. A caught-on-video killing that sparked fierce debate over the city's mental health system and crime underground. You've got citizens like this actually doing something. And this was a I haven't covered much of this because there's been so much tiff stuff to cover. But this one here is an indication of him being found not guilty as an indication of, you know what, just because you kill a homeless person doesn't mean you should, be guilty of a crime. Sometimes there is self-defense. And that is essentially what we've got going on here. And I didn't think this kid was guilty anyway. I really didn't. I'm more along the other lines of, hey, if you spout off crazy stuff and you're threatening other people, you know what I mean? You get what you have coming to you. I don't want to see people just getting murdered left and right, but I also don't want to have innocent people impacted by these absolute nut jobs that are just running around. Like how about in Seattle? You got, you got a homeless dude running around stabbing up 10 people. How about that? So, it's misguided compassion. If we only had enough money, if we only had enough caseworkers. Well, in the meantime, you're having, innocent people impacted. And, it was so true what the woman who talked about the homeless thing, where she said, this is a really creative city with a lot of bright people. We should be able to figure this out. Other areas have figured that out, and they incarcerate people and they put them in mental holds, and they don't let people just live on the streets willy-nilly. It's not a thing. The homeless are, accounted for somewhere. And they also don't encourage homelessness. That's the big, 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 big difference, is that, we're just so compassionate here. We're so progressive. We just let whatever the F, these folks want to do. And then they go, is there enough money to fix these problems? There is, just not the way that you want to do it. Because you would view it as, ooh, that is not compassionate. Ooh. Know what I mean? So the courtroom erupted in applause as the panelists acquitted Penny of criminal negligent homicide, which could have put him behind bars for up to 4 years, in Neely's chokehold death aboard a crowded uptown F train in May 2023. Now, he had the other murder charges dropped, I think, on Friday. Like, they cut it down. We, the jury, come to an unanimous decision on count 2. The 4-person on the jury told the courtroom. Penny immediately broke out in a huge smile and turned to hug defense attorney Thomas Knauf, even as Neely's father, Andre Zachary, is escorted from the courtroom. You're going to have some upset people, but you know what? If you threaten folks and somebody comes to your defense, it's kind of like, what do you expect would happen? We just want to coddle all these insane folks on drugs committing crimes. And the tide is shifting. The tide is shifting on that stuff, because guess what? Even the most ardent liberal folks are kind of in that position. We're like, maybe we went just a little bit too far here. Maybe, just maybe, some of this policy isn't working out. And maybe, just maybe, we lost the last election based on a lot of this nonsense, because normal people are tired of dealing with this kind of crap, having somebody hop on the, top of your car and, let's see how much air I can get up here. So then we got a Black Lives Matter racist effing country supporter yelled as she left the room. Another Neely supporter, turning to Penny, screamed, "It's a small world, buddy," before leaving the room. This was a big deal. This not guilty thing, that was a big, big deal. Because could you imagine if this would have happened right after George Floyd? Guilty. Boom. Jail you go. Prison you go. That's how that would have gone, because we were so on a roll of everything is viewed through a, racial lens of, that's racism. That's racism. That's racism. Well, now it's coming down to just basically how is society operating, and you can't just, you can't find guilty verdicts just because we're in a time period where you've got a bunch of this, we had all the progressives and the racism stuff and, all the transgender stuff, and all of that was just front and center there for a couple of years. Well, now we're pushing back, and this verdict here is a pushback. It is a pivot turn. It's kind of like Eric Adams in New York City. Wow, for a Democrat, that guy went really red, didn't he? Really red. And I was talking to a man in blue about this. And this whole thing, and he was asking, "Hey, are you covering that case?" And no, I'm following it, but I'm not covering it. But this is the deal. You got a lot of people in a lot of these big liberal cities that need a lot of help, and just getting them housing ain't going to do it. You're stuck with this. You're stuck with this. And California is stuck with half of the homeless folks in the United States, because they're people. They're people. You can't just you can't take, it's not like they're garbage and you just sweep them under somewhere, or you put them in the garbage can. Mr. Garbage Man, take away my garbage can with all that stuff in there. These are people. You can't sweep them under the rug. And from that standpoint, that's where, there's the rub, right? There's the rub. All right. What are you going to do? If we just had enough if we just had enough housing. Now, I'm tired of hearing all that, because that doesn't really solve the problem, does it? These people are on drugs, they're mental, and they're criminals. Period. Well, Sean, if they weren't on drugs and if they had a place to live, they wouldn't be criminals. All right. But they are. So what do you want to do? Ball's in your court. What do you want to do? I guess we'll just spend another $24 billion and hope for the best, and we'll just see where it goes. All right. How's that been working out for you? How did that work out for you in the last election? Yeah. Awkward. So jurors sided with Penny's defense attorneys, who had argued that the Marine veteran was justified in rushing to protect his fellow subway strap hangers when he subdued the erratic homeless man. What are we supposed to do with an erratic homeless man threatening innocent people on public transport? What are we supposed to do? I'm asking, not even for a friend, just myself. The lawyers had also questioned whether there was sufficient evidence that the chokehold caused Neely's death. Kind of like fentanyl Floyd, right? Yeah, on a bunch of fentanyl, probably on a bunch of other stuff, got a bad heart, puts himself into a really stressful situation. And then they blame a cop and then just social unrest throughout the United States. I'm kind of curious. I'm recording this just a few hours after this verdict came out. I am wondering if the Antifa or Black Lives Matter will do a national deal and just have a lot of mostly peaceful protests going on. That is another question with the man in blue that was like, I wonder if that'll happen. Maybe. I kind of think it won't, because we are going we're pivoting from that. We're pivoting away from that. I don't think anybody wants to support that anymore. The unbridled rioting, and not mostly peaceful, because that wasn't mostly peaceful. It was mostly violent, and it caused $2 billion of insured damage and $5 billion of insured and uninsured damage. $5 billion in damage across the United States. And that's why Black Lives Matter are domestic terrorists. That is literally the definition of terrorism in the United States. So are we going to have some more of that? I could see that happening, but I don't think it will, especially not the scale we had before, because we do not have folks that are front and center leading a lot of these towns now, where that was just, go do your thing, greatest thing ever. The guy with the earbuds minding his own business who, would be there for you if something happened, or perhaps you just hope that someone like Jordan Neely does not enter that train when you were all alone in a crowd of others frozen with fear. The lawyers had also questioned whether there was sufficient evidence that the chokehold caused Neely's death. Yeah, absolutely. This was a huge case. The verdict drew an immediate reaction from across the nation. Daniel Penny's actions were heroic and protected the lives of people on that train. Speaker Mike Johnson wrote on X, "We used to celebrate bravery like this in America, but the left continues their crusade to protect criminals and prosecute heroes," Johnson said. "Good to see this charge dismissed." Dismissed. Boom. Gone. In the Big Apple, City Councilman John Borelli, Republican from Staten Island, said the jury's decision underscores nothing other than the perverse sense of justice held by Manhattan District Attorney Alvin Bragg. I mean, you've got prosecutors and you've got DAs and you've got folks that have really gone down this whole justice reform, progressive pathway, and crime is just skyrocketed. It just has. Not that hard to figure out, right? Even San Francisco, did some recalls and basically said, it's a whole progress thing. It's not progress in the right direction. So we're going to recall you, we're going to vote you and you out of office. There was a ton of that happening in the last elections, right? Because people are tired of dealing with nonsense. They're tired of getting on the subway and having somebody threaten them. So unfortunately, for the individual that lost their life, that was avoidable. But you've got leadership on both sides, not only Democrats, but Republicans as well, where we just basically emptied out all the mental institutions. So that is a bipartisan issue. But what you're seeing is that you've got way more folks running around doing crazy stuff in these big urban liberal cities because they allow it. And then they're shocked when somebody actually pushes back, does a little chokehold to get the guy, out of harm's way, from harming the other innocent folks on the subway. And then people are like, oh my gosh, we've got a murder. And you're like, well, did you watch the video? Did you research this at all? Because that's not exactly how it went down. So you got people on both sides. You got a bunch of people that are saying, oh, this is terrible. This is awful. Those are typically the people that are also going to say, yeah, we're not working with ICE. We're going to go ahead and we're going to let the, illegals that have criminal backgrounds, we want to, protect them and not deport them from the country. These folks here in the Neely case, they're like, yeah, we want to protect insane homeless people on drugs instead of the innocent people trying to get to their jobs on the subway. Same deal. Same exact deal. And so I think this shift is turning ever so slowly. And you are seeing it in real time from the standpoint of, you know what? There's a lot of nut jobs out there and there's people willing to help out. And like the guy at the beginning of that video that we just watched, where he was probably just out for a run, out for a jog, and all of a sudden sees this guy just jumping on somebody's car and tries to hold that guy off. There's a lot of people out there willing to do that, but they shouldn't have to. They shouldn't have to, because you shouldn't have all these nut jobs running around on the streets. We didn't used to have that. That didn't used to be a thing. They were in mental institutions, and there was some crazy, crappy, horrific stuff that happened in those institutions. But they protected these people not only from the public, but from themselves as well, because these people are using drugs, they're self-medicating, and they're just going down all these avenues that eventually lead to their own destruction and death. So if you're okay with that, the whole harm reduction and housing first thing, if you're okay with that, then just keep doing what you're doing because it's working. It's working. It's working splendidly. Well, if we just had enough money. All right. Yeah. That's it for me on this one. So the Neely verdict, I was not shocked when I saw that, but I was pleasantly surprised. Like, oh, hey. Okay, some people are actually getting it. They're figuring it out. That guy should not be guilty. The guy's trying to protect other innocent people. So does he have liability? No, but he's got a civil case, I think, outstanding. See how that goes, right? See if they catch him on the civil. Probably. Get some liberal jury. He's guilty. All right. That's it for me on this one. Thanks so much for being here. Catch up with you in the next one. Bye for now.